What is up, my friends? My name is Mackenzie, and this is episode 3 out of 4 in my Watch Me Practice Redesign series. So if you missed the first 2 episodes, in episode 1 I went through and planned out this project. I figured out the goals and the vibes and emotions I wanted to achieve with this design, as well as I thought through the pages and the content that needs to live on each page. In episode 2, we jumped into Sketch and actually created this design. And in episode 3, this episode, we are going to take that design, jump into Webflow, and actually build the site. Alright, so the first thing you need to do if you don't have one already is go to webflow.com and sign up for a free account. And also be sure to check the description below because there's a link as well as a code in there. Webflow is hooking up everybody who watches these videos with 1 month of Webflow Pro completely free. So be sure to take advantage of that. Alright, so let's just jump in and let me walk you through what I got so far. So the current design looks like this. It was built in Webflow, and I used the Webflow CMS to list out the previous live streams. So I went ahead and duplicated this site, and we're going to be working directly in here. Real quick, let me show you the structure of the CMS. So if I go to the collections and click on the live streams, so basically the structure for each live stream down here, we have a name, we have a video link, as well as an episode color. We're not going to be using the episode color in the new design, and then also the live stream date and some show notes. So all that's going to be mostly the same for the new design. If we go back to our sketch design, so we have the number, which we'll need to add a column for that. We have the date already, and we'll probably need to add an excerpt as well as a thumbnail field or an image field for the thumbnail. So yeah, that's all good. We'll be editing that in a bit. Let's go to the project settings. Just go up in the upper left. I'm going to go to the fonts. And one thing I need to do is I've already created a new typekit kit using the fonts. Remember, if we go back to the design, we're using Lust Display for the headlines as well as Proxima Nova for everything else. So I've already set up a kit that I'm going to be using. If you are following along, you can either use Typekit and set up your own kit, or you can select from a huge list of Google fonts to use in your designs, which is pretty cool. So I just need to save the kit settings, and then let's go to the designer. So I've gone ahead and deleted everything from the home page here, so we can start from scratch. So remember, the background, the body for all the pages is going to have this like little gradient coming through, and then the border on top and bottom of this highlight color. So I'm going to select that highlight color. I'm using a tool called Color Snapper to grab that. I just have a short key or a shortcut on my keyboard, and I can just select any color and it automatically copies it, which is pretty cool. Alright, so I'm going to select the body, then go into the sidebar, and let's click the selector and go down to Body All Pages, because I want this to match and be the same for all the various pages. So we can just go down to the background. Let's see. Actually, first off, let's add a border on the top. So I'm going to do that. Let's go back to Sketch and see. I think it was about 8 pixels high. Yeah, the height is 8 pixels. So let's make it 8 pixels, and it will be that highlight color. And I'm actually going to hit this plus and select that as a global swatch. That way, if we ever change it, it looks the same on all of them. Whoops, 18, I meant to do 8. There we go, that looks better. And I'm gonna do the same on the bottom. So we'll do 8, and we'll select that highlight color. Perfect. Okay, so let's go back, and I want to select these 2 colors. Alright, so let's go up here and select Add Gradient, and let's change that to a radial gradient, and then just click in the middle. I might need to change that. Yeah, change it to the 3rd option. That way we get the light coming down from the top. So I want to first change this. So I'm going to double click on this swatch. And then this is the dark color. So I'm going to make that a global variable as well. Let's just call that the main. And let's go back, select that slightly lighter gray color. And double click on here. There we go, beautiful. And I'll make that a global swatch as well. I'm just gonna call this one like main lighter. You can probably come up with a more clever name. And then I'm just gonna change the background color to that darkest main variable as well, just in case. I don't think I need both, but so one issue we're gonna have right off the bat is as we add more content. So for example, if I add a div just inside the body, and I'll call this just space, just so I can show you what I'm talking about. Let's make the height 10,000. So if we scroll, you see the gradient gets cut off because it only goes the height of the viewport. So to fix that, we're gonna go into the project settings, and let's go to custom code, and let's add in some custom code here. So this custom code was just copied over from the previous site. Basically, WebKit font smoothing just makes the fonts a little bit cleaner. But we need to add one thing, and let's do background, attachment, and let's say fixed. Let's save the changes. So if we go back to this and reload, so the thing here is it's not going to show up in the designer, but when we do publish our site to the subdomain, it will be fixed there, which means it won't repeat like this, and it will just be the subtle gradient all throughout, which is what you need. Cool, so let's go back to the design. Okay, so let's just dive in. I think I want to start with this main section. So these two columns right here. So I'm going to go into the add section. I'm going to add a new section and just call this main. And then inside of here, I'm going to add, let's see, I don't want to use the generic container because if you click on this, Webflow's default container is 940 pixels wide. And if you remember in our design, we had a 2-column layout that maxes out at 1300 pixels wide. So I want to do a div, and inside of that div, let's call that wrapper, and then go in here and set the width to 1300 pixels. And then the max width, we're going to do 95%. So it's going to be 1300 pixels wide, but if it gets below that, it's going to switch to 95% of the viewport. And then inside of here, I can just drag out some columns, and I want them to be evenly spaced, but I'm going to call this one column 1, and this one COL2 for column 2. That way I can give them different padding levels. So that way they're still pushed out to the edge, but they have different padding on the inside. And actually, let's change the column. If we go into the column settings, let's just add the main column. Let's do 7 and 5 on the other side. Cool, so inside of here, we can just go ahead and drag in a headline. And let's go ahead and select all the headline H1 headings. I want it to change the font to the less display. And then let's go and grab that color. Cool. And then we will change this to that lavender color. And we'll just make that a global swatch as well. And then if we go back to the design, let's see what font size. So I used 45. So let's do 45 on the font size. And let's see, 45 times 1.5. Let's do 68 for the line height. I think that's a good place to start. And let's just double click in here and change this to watch me practice. Cool. So that takes care of that. Then let's add just a paragraph under that. And I'm going to go and go back to the design. So this was that lighter gray color. Actually, I had a color just for that. So it's a 6A A7185. And then the font size is 18 and line height is 30. So let's go up here and select all the paragraphs. And we will change this to that color. Let's go ahead and make that a global swatch, and I'll say color or copy color. Make it global, hit save. And then 18, and it was 30, I think. Yeah, there we go. Whoops, not 30, 30 pixels. Perfect. And let's go back and copy this text, paste it in there. Perfect. Oh, you know what I need to do is, I think, yeah, see, I forgot to take out that spacer div. So let's move the main out of there and just delete that space div. And if we go to the style manager, we can hit clean up and it will remove that space class as well. Cool, so all paragraphs, the font, something got funky. So let's go to, some got kind of messed up somehow. So let's go to the body, all pages, change the font to Proxima Nova. There we go. Cool, and also I want to add some spacing, some padding on top and bottom. So if I remember, it was like 70 pixels. Let me just create a simple shape. Yeah, 70 pixels, padding on top. So let's just drag out and we'll do 70. I'm holding Option. That way it's doing both on top and bottom. Cool, cool. And then if we go back to the design, I then have my video as well. All right, so I just need to grab a link to that video. I'm just gonna copy the video URL. And then if we go in and we can drag out from the media section, just a video, and I'm just gonna paste that in there, hit enter. Perfect. Cool. And then let's select that video and let's add a class called shadow. So let's go down and let's see. Oh, here we go. It seems there's already something there. Let's just go ahead and edit this. Oh, the shadow was taken from the old design. That's what it was. So I'm just going to make it black and let's make the opacity like 25%. And then for the distance, let's do 9. For the blur, let's do 18. And for the size, let's do 0. That way it's a lot more subtle. Perfect. And actually, let's remove that shadow class. And then let's select that and add a video class. And then let's add some margin of maybe like 50 on top and bottom. There we go, that looks good. Now I can also add that shadow class to get the shadow back in there. Beautiful. So back in our design, the last thing we have in this column is our H2 and then the little text for the subscribe call to action and then the button. So let's go ahead and copy this and I'll bring in another heading. Let's change this to the H2. And if I go in, select all the H2 headings, let's just do the same thing we did before. Let's change it to the Lust Display, that lavender color. And let's go back and see what font size I use. So 25, 32, so 25 and 32, perfect. Let's also change the font weights for both of these to 400. And let's go back in to the all H2, just make sure we're all good. So we got 400 font weight, lavender, 25, 32, perfect, that looks good. So I'm just going to double click in here, say subscribe to my YouTube channel. Perfect. And then let's drag in a paragraph and paste in what we had before. And then since this is just a paragraph and we already styled the paragraphs, it just takes the same styles as before. All right, so the last thing we need to do is add in a button. So let's go ahead and grab one of these buttons. And then it already has some styling. Let's create a class called btn for button. And let's see, let's do 15 on top and bottom, and then Let's bump this up to 40 on either side. That way it's a little bit wider. The color, let's do, actually let's pick that lavender color. And then for the background, let's go and change that to that light gray. So the main lighter color. Perfect. And then also, let's go down to the border and add a border radius of, say, 3 pixels. Perfect. And then the last thing I want to do to add some depth, just like we did in our design, is add a box shadow. So if we go down to the shadows, click Add Drop Shadow. Let's do 180 degrees, same as before. Let's change the opacity to 25%. Let's do 9 and 18 and see how that looks. I mean, yeah, that looks pretty good to me. So I'm gonna grab that. Let's also add a highlight state for that as well. So if we go to the selector and change it from none to hover, this is what it will do when you hover over it. So basically all I want to do is change the color to that highlight color. And I think that's it. So let's go back to none on the states. So it's a cursor pointer already, so that's good. Let's also add a transition. So let's do a transition of the background color and maybe bump it up to like 350 milliseconds. And let's do, let's see, ease in and out. That looks pretty good. That way it kind of just like fades in and fades out. If we click on this little preview, we can toggle the preview. Beautiful. And then the last thing we need to do is obviously change it from button text to say subscribe. Cool. All right, so one of the awesome things about Webflow is you can create symbols, which means I can turn this little call to action into a symbol. And what that means is I can use it on any page. But for example, if I was to change this join 44,000 plus people, if I change that to 45,000 or whatever, I would just have to change it in one place instead of updating it individually across all the pages. So to make that a symbol, I'm just gonna go hit the plus and let's add a div. Let's go directly in the layers panel and I'm gonna add it above the H2. So I'm gonna select this button and pull that into that div. Same with the paragraph and the heading. All right, and let's select that div and go back, add a class, let's say subscribe block. Perfect. And now all I have to do is go down and right click and go down to create symbol. And I'll say subscribe CTA, subscribe to YouTube CTA. Get a little bit more specific. Perfect. So now if I want to use that, I just go, instead of elements, go to symbols, and all I have to do is drag it out, and it adds that new block wherever I want it to be, which is fantastic. All right, so next we need to do the live streams. All right, so remember in our design, whoops, just need to delete that. We have the H2 just as recent live streams. Then below that, we list out all the live streams. And then the number and then the thumbnail on the other side. So let's think about how to do this. So let's go back. Let's go to our collections and the live streams. I need to go into the settings. So the episode color, I don't think I can delete that just yet because it's being used on the live stream template, which it is. All right, so let's go ahead and delete these. There we go. Now let's go back into the collections and the settings, episode color, click the gear, and let's just delete that. Cool. So we do need to add a few new fields. Let's add an image one and call this thumbnail. We also need one for the date, an excerpt, and the number. So let's see. We have the live stream date already, so let's go ahead and add one for the number. And I'll just say live stream number. And then let's see, we also need one for the excerpt. So let's do plain text and we'll change this to multiple line, and we'll say excerpt. And let's see, we got the YouTube video, the link. The link is in case I want to actually link to the other page. I don't actually use that right now, but it's there in case I ever do want to use it. The live stream date. I should probably have the live stream number up here as well, maybe above the video. The excerpt can be above the show notes, and the thumbnail is fine at the bottom. So if I just go and save that. So what I'm going to do is just go to the past few ones. So this is number 11. Let's change that. YouTube link. So the excerpt, I'm just going to copy what we have here. We may need to adjust the length of the excerpt and cut it off after a certain amount. And then the thumbnail, let me just grab an image. So this is an image screenshot from one of my past live streams. So I'm just going to save that, and let's do the same for this. Let's change that to 10. I'm just going to paste in the same one for the excerpt, and let's just use the same image. Make sure it uploads, perfect. Cool, and let's just close out of that. So if we go back to the home page, what I want to do is first add an H2. So let's go to the headings in that second column. Let's change that to H2, and we'll say recent live streams. Perfect. And then this is where the power of Webflow comes in. Let's add some dynamic, or let's add a dynamic list. So I'm going to add this to that second column. And what I need to do is just select the live streams to connect that. Then let's go into the settings. So I only want to display, I want to limit this to the first like 4 live streams. That way it just shows the most recent ones. And then from here, you just add content like you normally would. All right, so the first thing I want to do is add a link block. And let's add a class called live stream for the individual live stream. And then if we go into the settings, we can actually go into the page tab and click current live stream. That way it dynamically links to the correct live stream, which is pretty cool. So let's just go ahead and style this a bit. So let's add some padding first off. I'm just gonna hold shift. Let's do 35 pixels. That looks pretty good. Let's also add some margin on the bottom, say 30 pixels. And let's go ahead and change the background. Let's do that main lighter color. And let's also add a shadow. So it was down here. Then we'll change it to 25% again. This was 9, this one was 18, and just hit enter. Perfect. Cool, so let's select the live stream again. Let's also add border radius. Let's do 3 pixels. And then we may need to change some of the like width and height settings, but let's add some actual content first. So let's just drag out a text block in here. And I'm gonna call this live stream date. Let's change the color to that lavender color. And if we go back to our design, so we have all caps and the font size is pretty small at 13. So let's do 13. Let's make it all caps. And then the cool thing here, all we have to do is get text from the live stream date. So let's see, live stream date. There we go. And we can format it however we like. I like it month, day, year. That seems pretty good to me. Let's also add in the excerpt. So I'm gonna drag in a paragraph. Let's call this live stream excerpt. So let's go back here. It was 1624. First off, let's remove the margin bottom that all the paragraphs have. Let's make it a bit smaller. I might even want to tweak it a bit more now that I see it in here, but that's okay. So back in our design, you can see the excerpt doesn't go full width. So we'll need to tweak that so we can also have the thumbnail. So let's go ahead and set that to 70% width. Whoops, 70 pixels, 70%. There we go. Negative 100. 70%. There we go. Okay. And then if we go and get the text from the excerpt, only 2 of them actually show up because the other ones don't have any data for that field yet. So this is actually a bit long. I think what I want to do is shorten that a bit, maybe end it like too far, ... So what I'm going to do is go and select that. And let's do a character counter online. Let me see if I can just get the character count here. Count characters, 154. So let's go and go to the settings again real quick and click on the excerpt. And one thing I want to do is just add 150 maximum on the character count. So if we save that, we'll then need to edit these ones. Actually, remember, I wanted that to be shorter. Let's discard the changes. Go into the excerpt. I'm going to change this to, let's do 125. That seems like a good number. And save the collection. And let's go ahead and tweak this to make it 125 characters. And I'll just add a ... to end it there, and do the same for this. And I can copy this, save it, and I'm just going to do the same for these that we did for the others. That way we can just kind of see what we're working with. Obviously I'll need to update all of this before I actually publish it. There we go, now everything's showing up as it should. So the next thing we need is that thumbnail. So let's go in here, and we could do an image, but I think I want to do it differently. So I'm going to do a div block and just put it below the excerpt. So a few things I need to do. If we go back to the design, we have it positioned on the right side, and then then the number on the left side. So let's first select the live stream, and I need to change that to position of relative. That way we can absolute position the image. So I'm going to say live stream thumbnail. And this one we're going to do position of absolute. I do need to set some width and height characters. So let's do 165 pixels wide and 100 pixels high. Then let's position it to the top right. And actually let's put it top 50%, and then -40 to pull it outside. And then it pushes it down 50%, but a trick you can use is add some top margin. So if you know the width, or if you know the height, you can divide it in half. So if I do -50, because the height is 100, it will pull it back up and everything will be centered, which is pretty awesome. All right, so that's all good, but we need to get the actual live streams to show up. So let's go into the div block settings, and we'll choose get background image from the thumbnail. Perfect. And then obviously this is not looking too great, so we need to actually go and click add background image. So it doesn't add a background image, it basically allows you to format the background image. So one thing I want to do is hit cover, that way it takes up the full thing, and I also want to center it. Or maybe I should have it at the top. Center seems pretty good. And I also don't want to tile it either. So hit cover, hit the center, and then hit the X for the tile. And then there's two last things we need to do. Back in our design, we have a little bit of shadow and a little bit of border radius. So let's add a shadow. Let's do the same thing as before. Change this to 25%. This 180, 9, and 18. Perfect. And then we'll change the border radius to 3. Actually, 3 might be a little too much since this is a smaller thing. Let's just do 2 maybe. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. That way it kind of matches what we had before on the actual live stream box. Cool, so these are looking pretty good. The last thing we need to do is that number. All right, so what I'll do here for this is let's just do a text block and add it to the bottom. And I'm gonna call this one live stream number. And so for this, let's go ahead and get the text from the live stream number. And let's go ahead and position it absolute. And what I'm gonna do is, let's go 50 pixels from the top. And then from the left, I'm gonna do 98%. That way it gets pushed over. And I need to tweak the font a bit. Let's change the font to the Less Display, change it to that lighter gray color. And I actually think it's different. So let me select that color. There we go. And the font size is much, much bigger. So let's do 75 pixels. There we go. So since it's pushed over 98%, it's almost out of the box, but it's still cut off slightly. But what I want to do next is change the Z index to -1. That way it goes behind the live stream box. Cool. So the thing I need to do next, obviously, is let's add some padding to these columns. So let's select column 1. That's why I added the class names. Let's see. Let's remove padding left, and let's change padding right to 50. And then column 2, let's do the same. Let's remove it from the right. So let's do 0. And then let's do 50. See how that looks? Maybe a little bit more. There we go. 70 looks pretty good. Cool. And I also want to do one last thing and select this H2. I'm just going to add a class called MB for margin bottom. And let's just bump up the margin bottom so there's some spacing. Maybe like 30, 35. That looks pretty good. Cool, so if we preview this, full width. Awesome, awesome. Cool, so remember in our design, we also had this little highlight right here. So let's go ahead and add that in. So let's get out of preview. So how we can do this is, let's create a div and put it inside of this wrapper. And I'm gonna call this highlight block. And then let's just change the width to 10 pixels and the height to 60 pixels. And let's change the background to that highlight color. Perfect. And then we need to make it a position of absolute. That way it's out of the flow of the DOM. And we can position it to the left of 0. That way it's pushed all the way over. That looks pretty good. All right, so the last thing I need to do is, whoops. Let's select that and add some border radius. So on the top left, or I mean right, we'll add 3. On the bottom right, we'll add 3. Beautiful. Cool, that's looking great. All right, so one thing I want to do is let's make the live streams into a symbol. So I'm going to add another div in here, and we'll add in the dynamic list and then the title as well. And I'll select that div block. Let's add a class called recent live streams. And then right click and create symbol. And let's just call this recent live streams. That way on the other pages, we're able to just drag and drop that out. All right, so next let's take care of that header. So the header has the navigation and then the recent live stream date. So let's go ahead and add a section up top, and we'll just call this header. Inside of here, let's do a div and grab that wrapper div. That way it's the same width. Then inside of here, let's do a list. So let's drag that out, and we'll call this one nav. And I don't want bullets on this. So let's go ahead and remove that. Then select the nav item, and we'll call this header nav item. And double click in there, and I'm just going to say home. Let's make that a link as well. So let's add a class to that link and call it header nav link. Perfect. Cool. So let's delete these two. Let's change this to live streams. And then add that class back. Header nav link. Whoops. There we go. And let's go ahead and just start styling this. So the nav item, first off, let's do display of inline. That way everything is on the same line. Let's add some margin, maybe like 20, 25 pixels. Cool. Let's go ahead and change the font to that copy color. And size 13. And actually we need to, that's why I also created a class for the link as well. That way I can change the color. So let's make the color that lighter gray color. Perfect. Let's go ahead and change this one to schedule. Let's add that class back in. This one will be subscribe on YouTube. And then this one will be learn design. Cool. And then this one I want to, remember in our design we had that little highlight ever so slightly, or ever so, it's very subtle. So what I need to do is add a new class for this, and then let's go down, add a border. Let's make it maybe like 3 pixels and change it to maybe that lighter gray color. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks good. And then let's add some padding on the bottom, maybe like 10 pixels. Push it down ever so slightly. Perfect. So it's very subtle. Cool. So I'm going to select the header class. Let's add some margin on the bottom, maybe like 60 pixels, just to push everything down so it's not so like cluttered. Cool. So let's go ahead and link these up. So I'm going to change this one to the home. This one will go to the live streams page, which we haven't created just yet. Let's go ahead and create that actually. Go into pages, hit that plus, and we'll just say live streams, and hit enter to create. Then if we go back, we can now click the little gear and link that to the live streams. The schedule we're not going to mess with yet. We'll do that in the next episode. Subscribe on YouTube. I'll just leave these two blank because they're going to external things for now. Cool. And then I also want to create a text block. Let's put that inside the wrapper as well. And let's put the nav above that text block. So this, I'm going to say next live stream will be Saturday, I don't know the date, April 5th, 2017. Let's go ahead and add a class to this. I'll say live stream, or let's say next live stream. And what I need to do actually is, let's go back in here inside of the wrapper. Let's go ahead and create a new div. And let's call this, let's call this flex wrapper. And then let's go back into the layers panel and put the nav and the next live stream inside of there. Perfect. All right, so we can use Flexbox, and then we can go down here and do justify space between. That way they're pushed to the edges. And also the reason I want to do that is because we can do align center. And then that way the navigation is vertically aligned with the height of the next live stream. So let's go ahead and style that next live stream because you can't even see it at the moment. Let's do that copy color. Let's justify it to the right, and let's make it 13 pixels, just like the navigation. Let's change the font weight to bold, And I think that's all we need to do. And actually, I need to say the time as well. So I'll say at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So I think this is almost done. So let's select this, go ahead and create a symbol for it and call it header. That way we can use it on all the other pages. So we have a symbol for the header. I also want to go down to the bottom. Remember, if we go to our design, we have the header, and then down here we have that footer. So let's go and add a section down below. Call this footer. And inside of here, let's do a wrapper. Perfect. And then let's double click into the symbol. Let's copy this navigation and paste it in here. So it seems the wrapper has a text line center for some reason. So let's remove that. So let's change this to do Command G 2017 Mackenzie child. And then these would be different dates. So this would be YouTube, or I mean links, YouTube. This would be Twitter. This one, let's do Instagram. And then this one would be Dribble. Let's add a class to this one, to this nav item, and we will say copyright. That way we can put some additional padding, let's say like 60 pixels, just to visually separate them a bit more. And let's go into the nav as a whole. Let's change the font weight to 700, the color to that copy gray color, and 13 pixels. Perfect. Now these ones are links, so let's go ahead and link those up again. Cool, so this page is pretty much good. Let's go ahead and copy this. Select the footer and create a symbol. Call that footer. Sweet, so if we go back to our design, we pretty much have this all completed. Oh, you know what we are missing is that button to view all live streams. So actually I want to go ahead and go in here. Let's go in the layers panel and just add a button. And move the list up above it. So I'm going to call this one, let's do the same BTN class. And I'm going to change the text to view all live streams. Cool. And then that's still inside of that symbol. So anytime we drag that symbol out, for example, in the sidebar of our live stream page, it will all be the same. So let's quickly knock out the other pages. So most of the setup is already done. So let's go to the pages, the live stream page. So the awesome thing here is we can just drag out the header. Let's go back to the home page. I'm just going to copy this whole main div, do Command C, go back to the live stream template, select the body, Command V, perfect. That way we can edit it a bit. And then let's go in and add a symbol for the footer. Perfect. So this is the live stream template. So what I want to do here is go get text from, let's see, the name. And then we can go ahead and delete the paragraph. The video, not sure what happened to the video. Let's go into here, into row 1. Not sure what happened here. Yeah, that video kind of just disappeared. No worries though, we can drag out a new video. And let's say get video from the video in the live stream. And then this subscribe, I don't actually want it in this column. I instead want to drag it into, let's drag it into the column number 2. Let's also go in and select a rich text field and drag that in column 1 below the video. So it seems number 10 doesn't have a video on it. Does 11? Let me check the collection. So 11, we do have a video, it just doesn't appear to be showing up. Let me reload and see. So let's go to the live streams template page. There we go, now it's showing up. Simple reload, fixed it. Cool, so the rich text field is pretty cool. You can just drag this in and then you can double click and actually edit in here, and then you can style everything like this. But for now, let's just go ahead and get text from the show notes. All right, so let's see. I know one thing we had for the image, we need to edit that. So let's go ahead and undo that. Let's go ahead and add a video class to this to get that margin top and bottom. And what I'm going to do is select and upload an image. Let's just do that one like so. And if I click out of here, I can then go ahead and style the images. So what I need to do is add a class to this rich text block. I'll just say show notes. And then inside of this image, what I can do is go to all images. And then you see here there's a nest selector inside of show notes. Hit that, and then this will only apply the styles to these show notes. So what I want to do is go ahead and add a box shadow. So let's do 25%, 180 degrees. Let's do 9 and 18 to match the others. And let's do border radius of 3. And then also let's add some margin on top and bottom. Maybe like 35 pixels. Perfect. Now, if we go back and change that to the dynamic content, you can see the box shadow shows up. One thing I forgot to do, shoot, I'm gonna have to re-upload that image. So one thing I need to do is let's select that image. And let's change the background color to white. There we go. Okay, so now if we do the dynamic text, we have a white background for any transparent PNGs that I've used before, as well as that box shadow. Beautiful. And then we have this subscribe call to action, just like we have in our design, and then the recent live streams. One thing I do want to do is let's add a div in between here, and let's just call this spacer. Normally I would add a class to something above or below to add some space, but since those are both symbols, I don't want to mess with those. Let's just add a spacer class and maybe make the height like 75 pixels. Beautiful. So let's view that. Awesome. Perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and set up that last page for the live streams. So let's go ahead and drag in the header as well as the footer. All right, so from here, let's go back to the home page and let's copy this main section. Paste that in. Let's go to the layers panel and move the footer down below. Perfect. Let's change this to all live streams. What we need to do is get that out of that column, like so. And let's go ahead and delete the whole row. Perfect. I wonder if I can just drag in a symbol and then edit that. Whoops. So let's do recent live streams. Make sure that's in the wrapper block, like so. And then let's go ahead and unlink from symbol. Let's get rid of this. Awesome, so now we don't have to edit all of that. Let's go ahead and select this live stream and add another class, let's say 2-column. And what we need to do here, so let's set a width of, let's say 600 pixels, and then also a max width of 95%. Cool, and also let's select this dynamic item, which if you go in your layers panel, it's the div above. Let's go ahead and add a class to this, call it live stream wrapper. Let's make this one 45%. And let's see, let's also float it to the left. And then let's also add a margin on the right of 5%. Cool, so now they're all floated, so they all show up. Let's see, it is limiting just like before, so let's get rid of that. Cool, cool. So I think that's all we really need to do. Perfect. So real quick, I'm actually just going to go through and add in the excerpt as well as the thumbnail for each of these. That way we can see what we're working with. Perfect. All right, so now they're all showing up. Now that I see them all together, I do want to add some extra margin on the bottom. So let's just bump that up to 60. That way there's a bit more space. And actually I want to add some spacing. So what I'm going to do is, let's change the recent live streams. Let's remove that and call it margin top, and bump up the margin to maybe like 35 pixels. There we go. Cool. So back in our design, if we go look at it, the last thing we need to do is add that subscribe section. And actually we can delete this view all live streams. So what I'm going to do here is, so let's add a section here. And let's also add a div with the class of wrapper. And then inside of here, let's just do a simple 2-column. And then like this, we can go in and grab that symbol, the subscribe, and then that way it will just stay on the full width. And then we can just leave the other column blank. Cool. One thing I'm noticing is the footer needs some margin. So let's double click in there. Let's add some margin on top, maybe like 70 pixels. Or I think what we did before was 60 pixels between the header and the navigation. Cool, so let's just look at what we've done. So we have the header with the navigation and then the next live stream. We have these 2 columns with the title, subtitle, video, the subscribe, call to action, and then the recent live streams listing out here. Then if we go to the live stream template, it'll show the video. Doesn't appear to be showing up here. Let's reload and see what's going on. Let's go to live stream template. There we go. And then on this side we have the subscribe, call to action, as well as the recent live streams. And then if you go to the all live streams, it lists out all of the previous live streams, and they're all floated to the left, so they're stacked side by side. Cool, so this is a good place to end this one. There's still a lot of like little things and tweaks we need to do. We still need to make it work at the various sizes. We also need to build the schedule modal, so we'll be doing all that in the next video. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And be sure not to miss the next one when we do all the cleanup and the responsive stuff and the sign up modal or schedule modal and all of that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. But until next time, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.